All right. Hi. It is your good friend Mike Bevel. This is Footnotes, and we are on chapter 19. Now, we've had a pretty good run. I've done one every day for this will be day 3. So I'm not promising that it'll be a day 4, but it was a day 3, and that's worth celebrating, I think. All right. I have a little bit of scotch. Actually, I think it's whiskey. It's Maker's Mark. It's whiskey. Is it bourbon? Is it an epigram? Is it an epigraph? We're never going to learn. Got some water and some tea. So I have everything to be successful. Quotation from Dante's Purgatorio, Canto 7. I'm going to try to read it in Italian, and you're going to laugh at me, and we're going to have a great time doing that. And then I'll give you the English translation. I just summoned the devil. Della sua palma sospirando letto. Okay, so what that means is, the other ye behold, who for his cheek makes of one hand a couch with frequent sighs. So a little bit of this action. Let's was still reigning over the privacies of Windsor, when the Duke of Wellington was Prime Minister and Mr. Vincy was Mayor of the old corporation in Middlemarch. Mrs. Causabon, born Dorothea Brooke, Dorothea's back, born Dorothea Brooke, had taken her wedding journey to Rome. Oh, and we started with Dante. Oh, I think things aren't going to go well for Dorothea in Rome. In those days, the world in general was more ignorant of good and evil by 40 years than it is at present. Travelers did not often carry full information on Christian art, either in their heads or their pockets, and even the most brilliant English critic of the day mistook the flower-flushed tomb of the Ascended Virgin for an ornamental vase due to the painter's fancy. So just a quick footnote from non-Catholic. But the tomb of the Ascended Mary is, it's worth looking into, because at one point she died, and then the Pope, one of the popes, Jack Pope, maybe you know him, decided that actually Mary did not die, but was ascended bodily into heaven. Let's just see who's messaging me in case I have to. Okay, yeah, I don't have to do anything. Anyway, so there's a tomb for a woman who didn't die, who was ascended bodily to heaven, much like Enoch in the Tanakh. Romanticism, which has helped to fill some dull blanks with love and knowledge, had not yet penetrated the times with its leaven and entered into everybody's food. It was fermenting still as a distinguishable, vigorous enthusiasm in a certain long-haired German artist. Oh, sorry. It was fermenting still as a distinguishable, vigorous enthusiasm in certain long-haired German artists at Rome, and the youth of other nations who worked or idled near them were sometimes caught in the spreading movement. One fine morning, a young man whose hair was not immoderately long, but abundant and curly, and who was otherwise English in his equipment, had just turned his back on the Belvedere torso in the Vatican and was looking out on the magnificent view of the mountains from the adjoining round vestibule. He was sufficiently absorbed not to notice the approach of a dark-eyed, animated German who came up to him and, placing a hand on his shoulder, said with a strong accent, and I'm not going to do a German accent, first of all, but then second of all, I'm just not good with accents. Come here quick, else she will have changed her pose. Quickness was ready at the call, and the two figures passed lightly along by the Meleager towards the hall where the reclining Ariadne, then called the Cleopatra, lies in the marble voluptuousness of her beauty, the drapery folding around her with a petal-like ease and tenderness. They were just in time to see another figure standing against a pedestal, thrown backward from her arms. Oh, whoops, nope. They were just in time to see another figure standing against a pedestal near the reclining marble, a breathing, blooming girl, whose form, not shamed by the Ariadne, was clad in Quakerish gray drapery. There's Dorothea. I mean, of course it's Dorothea. Her long cloak fastened at the neck was thrown backward from her arms, and one beautiful ungloved hand pillowed her cheek. It's a callback to Dante. Pushing somewhat backward the white beaver bonnet, which made a sort of halo to her face round the simply braided dark brown hair. She was not looking at the sculpture, probably not thinking of it. Her large eyes were fixed dreamily on a streak of sunlight which fell across the floor. But she became conscious of the two strangers who suddenly paused as if to contemplate the Cleopatra, and, without looking at them, immediately turned away to join a maidservant and courier who were loitering along the hall at a little distance off. "What do you think of that for a fine bit of antithesis?" said the German in my voice, searching in his friend's face for responding admiration, but going on volubly without waiting for any other answer. "There lies antique beauty, not corpse-like even in death, but arrested in the complete contentment of its sensuous perfection. And here stands beauty in its breathing life, with the consciousness of Christian centuries in its bosom. But she should be dressed as a nun. I think she looks almost what you call a Quaker. I would dress her as a nun in my picture. However, she is married. I saw her wedding ring on that wonderful left hand. Otherwise, I should have thought the sallow Geistliker was her father." Geistliker, is that ghost liquor? It can't be ghost liquor. Oh, it could be ghost liquor. They were talking about Causabon. Let's just find out as a family what Geistliker means, or liker. It's taking a moment. Oh, it means spiritual, not ghost liquor. If your kids need tutoring in German, my email address is mbevel@gmail.com. Go ahead and send them my way, because I will get them more fluent than they've ever been in German. I should have thought the sallow Geistliker was her father. I saw him parting from her a good while ago, and just now I found her in that magnificent pose. Only think, he is perhaps rich and would like to have her portrait taken. Oh, it is no use looking after her. There she goes. Let us follow her home. No, no, said his companion with a little frown. You are singular, Ladislaw. You look struck together. Do you know her? I know that she is married to my cousin, said Will Ladislaw, sauntering down the hall with a preoccupied air, while his German friend kept at his side and watched him eagerly. What? The Geistliker. He looks more like an uncle, a more useful sort of relation. He is not my uncle. I tell you, he is my second cousin, said Ladislaw with some irritation. Schon, I think that's how you say that. S-C-H-O with 2 dots above it. Don't be snappish. You are not angry with me for thinking Mrs. Second Cousin the most perfect young Madonna I ever saw. Angry? Nonsense. I've only seen her once before, for a couple of minutes, when my cousin introduced her to me, just before I left England. They were not married then. I didn't know they were coming to Rome. But you will go to see them now. You will find out what they have for an address, since you know the name. Shall we go to the post? And you could speak about the portrait. Confound you, Naumann. I don't know what I shall do. I'm not so brazen as you. Bah, that is because you are dilettantish and amateurish. If you were an artist, you would think of Mistress Second Cousin as antique form animated by Christian sentiment, a sort of Christian Antigone, sensuous force controlled by spiritual passion. Just for those of you who may not know the story of Antigone, and the reason I know the story of Antigone mostly is because, was I bitten by a vampire? We did a production of Antigone in high school. We did Jean Anouilh's translation, which was a way of sneaking anti-Nazi, sort of anti-occupation ideas out into the theater. And Antigone, her 2 brothers fight each other. They both die, like they both end up dying. One gets a hero's burial and one is left to rot in the streets. And Antigone doesn't want to leave her brother unburied and his spirit walking the earth. And so under penalty of death, she decides to bury the other brother. And King Creon is a jerk and has her walled up in a tomb with her, I think it's with, does her boyfriend join her? I think he does. Maybe they made cave babies. That's in the sequel. We'll talk about that another time. Let's see, where did we leave off? Yes, okay, let's do this. Bah, that is because you are dilettantish and amateurish. If you were an artist, you would think of Mistress Second Cousin as antique form animated by Christian sentiment, a sort of Christian Antigone, sensuous force controlled by spiritual passion. Yes, and that your painting her was the chief outcome of her existence, the divinity passing into higher completeness, and all but exhausted in the act of covering your bit of canvas. I am amateurish if you like. I do not think that all the universe is straining towards the obscure significance of your pictures. But it is, my dear, so far as it is straining through me, Adolf Naumann, that stands firm. Adolf, that's a name you don't hear much anymore. He's an artist. Oh, Adolf, it's not going to go well for you. That stands firm, said the good-natured painter, putting a hand on Ladislaw's shoulder and not in the least disturbed by the unaccountable touch of ill humor in his tone. See now, my existence presupposes the existence of the whole universe, does it not? And my function is to paint. And as a painter, I have a conception which is altogether genialish, not like ish, like kind of genial, but it's like a German word. Of your great aunt or second grandmother as a subject for a picture. Therefore, the universe is straining towards the picture through the particular look, to the particular hook or claw which it puts forth in the shape of me. Not true. But how if another claw in the shape of me is straining to thwart it? The case is a little less simple then. Not at all. The result of the struggle is the same thing, picture no picture logically. Will could not resist this imperturbable temper, and the cloud on his face broke into sunshiny laughter. Come now, my friend, you will help, said Naumann in a hopeful tone. No, nonsense. English ladies are not at everybody's service as models, and you want to express too much with your painting. You would only have made a better or worse portrait with a background which every connoisseur would give a different reason for or against. And what is a portrait of a woman? Your painting and plastic are poor stuff after all. They perturb and dull conceptions instead of raising them. Language is a finer medium. Yes, but those who can't paint, said Naumann. There you have the perfect right. I did not recommend you to paint, my friend. The amiable artist carried his sting, but Ladislaw did not choose to appear stung. He went on as if he had not heard. Language gives a fuller image, which is all the better for being vague. After all, the true seeing is within, and painting stares at you with an insistent imperfection. I feel that especially about representations of women, as if a woman were a mere colored, wow, Mike. Literally only 2 sips of that, 3 sips of that, 4 sips of that whiskey. Where did we leave off? Language gives a fuller image, which is all the better for being vague. After all, the true seeing is within, and painting stares at you with an insistent imperfection. I feel that especially about representations of women, as if a woman were a mere colored superfices. That can't be a mere colored I don't know the word superfices. It's not one that I use in my day-to-day talking or my writing. So let's just see what happens. A surface of a body or a region of space. Not helpful, Merriam-Webster, not helpful one bit. You must wait for movement and tone. There's a difference in their very breathing. They change from moment to moment. This woman, whom you have just seen, for example, how would you paint her voice, pray? But her voice is much diviner than anything you have seen of her. I see. You are jealous. No man must presume to think that he can paint your ideal. This is serious, my friend. Your great aunt, Dorothea als uncle, the wife of your uncle. No, that can't be. Hold on. Oh, Priesterman, okay. If you could just see, the nephew is uncle. Der Neffel als uncle. The nephew is uncle, gotcha. In a tragic sense, ungeheuer. Oh. Wait, that's, oh, ungeheuer is monstrous. I'm sorry, guys, this is a short chapter, so I'm just gonna do superfices. Is that how you, oh, I didn't mean to look at myself. I see enough of me all the time. How do you pronounce that word? Oh. Superfices. Okay. Language gives, if you could see just how much sweat is pooling on the surface of my skin in this hottest of Augusts. Language gives a fuller image, which is all the better for being vague. Remember, this is Ladislaw speaking. After all, the true seeing is within, and painting stares at you with an insistent imperfection. I feel that especially about representations of women, as if a woman were a mere colored superfices. You must wait for movement and tone. I'm sure that is not how you pronounce that word. Somebody who watches this Please let me know how to say that. You must wait for movement and tone. There's a difference in their very breathing. They can change from moment to moment. This woman whom you have seen, for example, how would you paint her voice? But her voice is much diviner than anything you have seen of her. I see. You are jealous. No man must presume to think that he can paint your ideal. This is serious, my friend. Your great aunt, der Nephilos uncle, in a tragic sense, ungeheuer, so the nephew is uncle in a tragic sense, monstrous. You and I shall quarrel, Norman, if you call that lady my aunt again. How is she to be called then? Mrs. Causabon. Good. Suppose I get acquainted with her in spite of you, and find that she very much wishes to be painted. Yes, suppose, said Ladislaw, in a contemptuous undertone intended to dismiss the subject. He was conscious of being irritated by ridiculously small causes, which were half of his own creation. Why was he making any fuss about Mrs. Causabon? And yet he felt as if something had happened to him with regard to her. There are characters which are continually creating collisions and nodes for themselves in dramas which nobody is prepared to act with them. Their susceptibilities will clash against objects that remain innocently quiet. And that was chapter 19, guys. We did it. That was a very short chapter. Didn't take much at all. How long is chapter? Oh yeah, chapter 20 will make up for it. We've got a lot to read there. All right, I am going to, okay, you really can't, oh, this is where I think I was bitten by a vampire or something. Like, I don't recall these two. Puncture wounds, or maybe a snake got me. Hi, thank you for spending time with me. This has been Footnotes. This is a really short chapter. 3 in a row. It's pretty good. All right, I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.